Well, Regis, congratulations. That was a very difficult fight to score from sitting ringside. When that final bell rang, how confident were you that you were going to get the decision?
I mean, I definitely felt I was confident to get the decision. I got the stop, I got the drop early, and I kept pressing the action. But he ran around the whole time. I definitely have to go back to the gym and work on some things because he ran. It was like he tried to survive, but he definitely he was stronger than I thought. He caught me with some punches, but he just ran around. It was kind of hard to get to him.
I think a lot of people were expecting at some point for this to devolve into a firefight. It never did. How surprised were you by his strategy tonight?
I mean, I felt like, from the opening bell, I felt like that's what he was gonna do. He felt the power when I did drop him. He felt the power, so then he started running even more. So I felt that. I mean, I tried to get to him. I tried to catch him, but he ran around.
What made him so difficult to track down for you?
It was just his foot movement, and I know he had the right hand. Yeah, that was a good punch. Yeah, that was definitely a good punch. He caught me with it. But yeah, he was just moving around. He was trying to time the right hand and stuff like that. That's what it was.
Now, did you feel that was a knockdown in the first round? You guys got tangled up towards the end, but he hit you with a straight right hand before you both went to the canvas.
Well, looking at it now, it looked like it was a knockdown. To be honest, but when I did it, it didn't feel like it when I was in the ring because I never was hurt and I fell a couple of times. It was like some foot stuff and all. Cause we got tangled. The southpaw orthodox stuff we got tangled, but. Looking at it, yeah, it could have been a knockdown.
Robbery or nah, Regis Prograis fails to shine in a hometown fight and a debut with Rematch Room. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Let me give you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. I just watched Regis Prograis versus Zorrilla, and I'm going to be brutally honest, like I always am on my post-fight breakdowns. The bad and the ugly was, it was a hard fight to watch, an ugly fight, a boring fight. Wasn't entertaining. Both guys seemed apprehensive and hesitant. In the end, Regis Prograis won via split decision. So I want to talk about the split decision. The scorecards were pure BS. Some people are saying there's a robbery and they had Zorrillo winning. He's of Puerto Rico, Miguel Promotions, but this was a coming out party and the first introductory fight. Regis Prograis just signed with Rematch Room, so you know how that goes. Politics, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles is going to judge the fight. Not only like the split decision was accurate. I can understand a couple rounds could have been hard to decipher, but all in all, the scorecards were far too wide. And I don't think Regis Prograis shined, at the end of the day. And a telltale sign of this is you kind of have to make excuses post-fight, he was saying stuff to the effect of hometown fights are always the worst, but why did you schedule it to be in the hometown? If it's a hometown hijinks, and you're not on your A game. He's saying he went out, the night before. Fans don't care about that. They just want to see you perform. And if you chose to go out or, I think he ran a marathon, then you got to just live with those results, when you put on this type of performance, lackluster, etc. Roll the clip.
To potentially fight a guy like this down the road who might make it that difficult, what do you have to work on to become a better fighter?
I have to go work on cutting the ring off and stuff. And really, I'm sorry, New Orleans, I'm sorry. Like, I wanted to put on a little better performance. Hometown fights, when you come back, hometown fights, they make you so nervous. I was in my hotel room, I was nervous. I went around. I never usually when I go off the road, when I go off, like when I'm not here, I stay in the hotel room the whole time. This time I went out before the fight, so. Just the hometown fights are the worst, bro.
It's been 5 years since you've been back here in a fight in New Orleans. What did it mean to you, though, to get a win with that belt on your shoulder in your hometown?
Well, like I said, it was a tough win. It definitely was. I mean, I felt like I deserved the win. It was a tough win, but just to see all my people out there, man, thank y'all, New Orleans. I'm glad. Thank y'all. I'm glad I brought it back. I'm glad I could just bring it back here. I put some fighters on the undercard. Eddie let me do that, so I'm definitely glad for that. But I gotta go back and work on some things for sure.
You have a belt, and you've got a major promoter behind you in the 140-pound division, arguably the best division in all of boxing right now. What would you like to do next?
It depends on Eddie. I mean, it depends on what he says. It's a lot of big names out there. They have Haney, Tio. I don't know what's going on with Tio. Matias, he has a belt. I don't want to fight Rolly. Rolly terrible to me. I don't want to fight Rolly. But it's a lot of big fights. Ryan Garcia, it's a lot of big fights out there for me. So, you know, we'll see what's happening next.
You had Bill Haney sitting ringside watching your fight tonight. How would you feel about a fight against Devin Haney next?
I love it. I saw Bill Haney at the hotel earlier. So, I mean, if me and Devin can do it next, I think after this performance, they might feel a little more confident. But, you know, I'm going to go in the gym. I'm going to work my ass off and correct my mistakes and, you know, get that hometown jitters that they can be here next time.
So anytime a fighter got to talk about hometown jitters and I went out and I stayed up too late and stuff like that, that's what goes to show you. Now, credit to Regis Prograis for being a real one and admitting that he got knocked down. There was in the first round a blown call by the referee, very eerily similar to Terrence Crawford versus Mean Machine, where we all seen Crawford buckle and drop and get knocked down, but played it off. Referee said it was a slip. He didn't get a 10-8 round. Same thing happened here with Regis Prograis. This actually reminded me also of Deontay Wilder when he first challenged for the WBC title against Bermane Stiverne, the first fight in Vegas. And in that first fight, Wilder hurt Stiverne, and then Stiverne's legs buckled, and then he ensued and proceeded to tackle Wilder because he was hurt, you know, so Wilder can't get additional shots on. As Regis Prograis is falling, you see Regis Prograis, and he kind of wraps around, which you could say is a smart veteran move, but whatever. He wraps around and brings down Zorrilla, and that was because he was going down. So if Zorrilla would have known and like stepped back, then that would have definitely been a 10-8 because he would have nothing but gravity pulling him down. So ultimately, it really wasn't an eventful fight. DAZN commentary is horrible. They were going off and saying Zorrilla wasn't doing this and that. I thought Zorrilla was doing a great job. Now, it wasn't a fun fight. It was an ugly fight, kind of chippy in a couple spots, and it was boring to watch. But it's not the opponent's job to make you look good or to be on your highlight reel. So Zorrilla's game plan was actually good. They clearly respected each other's power. Kind of remind me of Shakur Stevenson versus Nakathila, where that fight was just kind of ugly and dull because you had Nakathila, who had his own limitations, and then Shakur had to respect Nakathila's power. So it just kind of drug on and drug on and drug on. That was kind of evident here. But Zorrilla's game plan was actually good. Fighting this guy in his backyard is his debut at Rematch Room. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to play spoiler. Similarly, you look at Jerron Boots Ennis versus that Karen dude. They're not, your opponent's not trying to make you look special and, like I said, be on your highlight reel. So that Karen dude did exactly what Zorrilla did. He made the A-side person and the favorite look human. And now you got to really question Regis Prograis versus other fighters, especially a big puncher like Subriel Matias, because he clearly really respected the power of Zorrilla. And Zorrilla wasn't even really aggressive. He was just trying to counterpunch. He fought really well off the back ropes and he was picking his spots, but there was not this like crazy offloading of punches and combinations, yet and still that was enough to keep Regis Prograis super honest. So against a Subriel Matias, you got to wonder what would happen in that particular fight if somebody upped the tempo, which Subriel usually fights in a certain way and more aggressive. Also, future fights with like Devin Haney, if he were to move up. And speaking of Devin Haney's not known for necessarily being the biggest power puncher, but we got to stop with the running. I've never been a fan of that in boxing. Guys use their legs and their fists. They can't use their legs in the form of MMA, so you use it for lateral movement. There's a way in anything that somebody can do in boxing, there's a way to counter that. If someone has speed, you can time speed. You can slow somebody down that's extremely athletic and fast by going to their body and weakening them to the point where they can't get off as fast because you're zapping their energy, right? If someone has power, then you have a great defense so you don't get hit with the crazy shots. So when people say Regis Prograis post-fight was like, oh, he ran. When people say that, I'm not a fan of that because you're basically saying that this guy made it hard for me and I didn't really have an answer and I couldn't cut off the ring. So as a result, I'm going to say he ran. But it's like, what do you do a 6, 10, 12-week training camp for if you're not preparing for all different styles? And fighters often in the press conferences and stuff, they say, oh, I'm preparing for the best version and we train for everything. But did you train for him to try to outbox you? You thought it was going to be easy, and Zorrilla, credit to him, made it hard. Now, you guys let me know in the comment section if you had him winning. Awful night for Eddie Hearn. He had that Ali chick and she got stretched, which you don't always see in women's boxing, but she got chalk outlined. Shout out to Guzman from Mexico who knocked her out. And then Eddie Hearn, you heard him, and I'm gonna play the clip for you guys and leave with that. Eddie Hearn, you'll hear he's like kind of making excuses, saying, oh, the guy ran and made it difficult. Again, it's not Zorrilla's, it's not his job to make Regis Prograis, your new signee, look good. And you're like, oh, Eddie Hearn's saying like, oh, we picked him to bring a fight. Yeah, you wanted him to get stretched out and look sensational, but he had other plans. And that's why there was a moment where Zorrilla, after the split decision was red and wide scorecards in favor of Regis Prograis, he just looked at the camera crazy. But I'll take you out with Eddie Hearn making excuses. Regis Prograis looked pretty flat. Hometown hijinks. Let me know what you guys think of this performance. Was it boring? For me, it was like watching a slasher flick, and then the director didn't do a good job of building the personalities and the character development, so you didn't really care who survives the movie. You want Jason, Michael Myers, or Freddy Krueger. You're on prime time. You want them to just kill the whole cast. That's how this fight was. It was a boring fight to watch, and it was a hard watch, and you almost didn't care what happened at the end of it. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Roll the clip.
I thought it was a poor fight. You know, I thought it wasn't a great performance from Regis, but frustrating from Zorilla, because I just feel like we chose Zorilla because we felt he would come to fight. And when you get an opportunity to fight for a world championship, I thought it was a very frustrating performance, very disappointing from Zorilla. He frustrated Regis. He started well. They both felt power early in the first round. Regis dropped him, and then he just ran for the whole fight. He never tried to win the fight. You can talk about it being close and there wasn't a lot, but Regis was forcing the fight. He didn't cut him off as well as I'm sure he would have liked. But, you know, it was disappointing that Zorilla didn't come to fight. Regis is still world champion. And on to the next.
On to the next is right. You heard Regis say he would love to get a fight with Devin Haney. You had Bill Haney sitting here ringside. We know Devin is a promotional free agent right now. What are the chances that Devin Haney could get in the ring with Regis Prograis next?
It's up to him. We love that fight. You know, we're offering him the fight as champion. You know, I'm sure Devin wants to move up to 140. He wants a shot. You know, if there's a positive from tonight, it's that I think people will be more willing to fight Regis Prograis.